Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. We've got another debate for you this afternoon. This is the first debate of the day. We've got another debate later on at 20 to 5, so please do stay tuned. But on this debate show, we're going to be talking about our championship prediction table every single year. Football League World, we predict how we think the championship table is going to pan out come May. And we're going to compare it to the championship table right now after 11 games. My name is Sam Rourke, and I'm delighted to be joined by George Harbey and Marcus Alley. George, how are we this afternoon?
Yeah, not bad. Depending on how the next 20 minutes go, looking at our predictions, could be a lot worse. Could look a little bit stupid. But yeah, not too bad. Thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Marcus, how are you getting on?
Yeah, very well, thanks. A lot to reflect on, as George mentioned. Some quite impressive, deserve a little bit of a pat on the back, and some the complete opposite, I think you could say. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Absolutely. If you are watching this live show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we want to hear your comments, your opinions on our table, and also your own personal predictions for the championship come May. We want to hear who you think will be in the top six, who you think will get relegated, and so forth. So let's get into it. So here we go. This was the championship table prediction that we issued right at the start of August on our social media platforms. As you can see, we've gone through each position from first all the way down to 24th. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the current championship table after 11 fixtures of the season. So we're going to kind of go through each team individually and kind of swiftly ask, can we see them, staying there? Can you see them going up the table? Can you see them going down the table? So I guess it makes sense to start off at the top. We predicted at Football League World that Fulham would win the championship title come May. Now, for Fulham, they currently reside in 5th position in the table. A really electric start to the season under Marco Silva, you have to say. But of late, gone off the boil somewhat. That kind of culminated in that 4-1 defeat at Coventry on Saturday. A really disappointing result for the Cottagers. So as I said, they currently sit in 5th position with 20 points. George, we'll come to you. Are you still sticking with our prediction with Fulham? Do you see them getting over this sort of mini rut and kind of elevating themselves into that top two?
Yeah, I think the quality of their squad will show over the course of the season. I mean, they've had a largely positive start. I mean, they've been freak results at Blackpool and Coventry showed their home record and home quality at home against them at the weekend. But I think on the whole, there's a lot to like about Fulham. Obviously, the big man up top, Mitrovic, he'll guarantee you 20 goals this season. He's already started the season fantastically well. I think he's on 10 already. So maybe even 20's, underestimated him slightly. He might even push for the 30 that Tony hit last season. I just think as well, they've still got Tom Kenny to come back from injury. And when you add him to the mix with the likes of Harry Wilson and, other players they've got like Neeskins Cabano and players like that and Josh Onomer, I think they'll definitely be in the top two. I'm not sure about the title. That could be anyone's game. But in terms of top two, I'm still sticking with that. And I don't think there's much to panic about. I think it was always going to take time as well for Marco Silva to kind of, adapt his way back into it or adapt to life back in English football, especially the Championship as well. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with them in top two.
There we go. Marcus, do you echo that? Do you think this sort of mini blip will come to an end soon and they'll start to push themselves back into that top two?
I do, yeah. It's a long old season, still got 35 games to play. I think Fulham have probably proved that at their best level that they are the best team in the league. It's just been a little bit too few and far between to have them in the top two after 11 matches. Yeah, I agree with George. I'm not too concerned about them at all. Kind of need them to get top two for my own back pocket, but that's another conversation for another day. Yeah, Fulham to win the league, I think, is still a fair prediction, and they've shown in flashes that they're capable of still doing it.
Yeah, certainly an incredibly strong squad for this level of football, you've got to say. Let's move down to 2nd position. We've got it absolutely bang on right now, which is what you want to see. We predicted West Brom to finish 2nd, obviously under the tutelage of Valérien Ismaël right now. They currently have 22 points. West Brom in 2nd position after 11 games. It's looking good, that prediction for us right now. Marcus, can you see the Baggies sticking around in that top two?
I can, yeah. We've got those parachute payment triplets in the top three. I think that's going to be a fair shout. West Brom have shown that they're not running as hot and cold as Fulham, but I don't think that will concern Valère and Ismail at all. Obviously, they hadn't lost the game until Friday night's defeat at Stoke, so were incredibly consistent. Maybe drawing a few too many games than the Frenchmen will be happy about, but proving themselves as credible automatic promotion contenders nonetheless. They're just starting to get going in offence. I think obviously they're a bit reliant on set pieces at the start of the season, but Carlin Grant started to click into gear. We know what he can do at second tier level. It's a good start, but that's all it is. But I think they can definitely kick on after the international break and at least stay in second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Any Baggies fans that are watching, have you been impressed with your recent performances? Do you think you can stick around in that top two picture come May? Right, let's touch on who we thought would finish third. AFC Bournemouth, we predicted to finish third in the table, but they are currently at the top of the Sky Bet Championship table, the only team not to lose a game all season. It's been a stellar start for Scott Parker and his side. Their last result against Sheffield United was a 2-1 win, a really impressive result against another relegated outfit. George, we'll come to you. They look good, don't they, Bournemouth, this season? And I think it's not a bad prediction from us to have them up there. I think many people would have said they'll be in that top six at the very least. Do you see them? They are top right now. Do you see them hanging around up there?
Yeah, they look very confident first and foremost. I think that I can't remember when we actually predicted our table, but at the time, Scott Parker only just come in. It's a great appointment for them. He done well at Fulham. I think many people expected Bournemouth to lose quite a few players around this summer, but only looking back, I could only remember them losing Danjuma. They've kept the likes of Solanke, Brooks, Billing. And they've added to it in the likes of Marcondes and the young lads as well in Zamora and Jaden Anthony have really stepped up. So they've got goals coming from everywhere, every area of the pitch. And I just think they've got, like Fulham, I think they've got so much quality going forward from several players. Billing is turned into a goal scoring machine for midfield, which not many Huddersfield fans would expected a few years ago. They're the only team not to lose. That's going to give them loads of confidence, and perhaps the international breaks come at the wrong time for them in terms of building momentum and carrying on the fine run of form. But good prediction from us, and I predict they'll get like Fulham being a top two coming into the season.
Yeah, it's certainly been a great start for Scott Parker and his side. You do imagine that they will remain within that top six, like I said, at the very least. Right, let's touch on fourth position. Sheffield United, we predicted to come fourth. Now, it's not been the start that many people would have expected from the Blades under Slavisa Jokanovic. Tipped by many to be in and around that top six in the early advances. It hasn't really panned out that way. They're currently down in 14th position with 12 points on the board. It's been a slow start, Marcus, for Jokanovic at Sheffield United, hasn't it? Do you expect them to pick up after the international break?
Yeah, I think they've shown since the first international break in between the two that they've definitely got the capabilities to at least achieve a fourth place finish. Slavisa Jokanovic started slowly at Watford and Fulham and ended up having great success there. So I don't think Blades fans should be too concerned just yet. They'll want to be getting into at least touching distance of the playoff places come, sort of moving towards the new year. But I don't think there's any cause for panic yet. Obviously, they are a little bit reliant on Morgan Gibbs-White going forward, which is a bit of a concern. Billy Sharp's played out of his skin, it has to be said as well. But at 35 years old, I'm not sure how you can rely on him week in, week out, whether that's really sustainable at this level. But time will tell. The signs are good. It's a call for patience, and I think Sheffield United should be fine and should finish in the top six.
Yeah, you certainly expect so. Right, let's touch on our fifth place. Perhaps one that's not looking too great in these early stages of the Sky Bet Championship. We predicted Middlesbrough under Neil Warnock to finish in fifth place. They currently sit in 15th place right now, 12 points on the board. It's been a very slow start to the season for the Riverside outfit. They just haven't seemed to get going just yet. George, come to you. I mean, it has been a very kind of unspectacular start, really, for Borough. Have you seen enough from them so far to suggest that our prediction has got some credibility?
Not so far, no. I mean, I saw them at Forest the other week, and they only relied on a goalkeeping error and one through ball to really put the game beyond Forest's reach. It was always going to be a big summer for Neil Warnock. Obviously, ended last season, he didn't play Assombalonga or Fletcher, moved them both on in summer. Obviously, also got rid of Chuba Akpom in the end as well and brought in his own attacking players. However, the likes of, to be fair to Sporar, he's coming from abroad and done quite well, but Ikpeazu, and you look at, Parejo and Lea Saliki in midfield, he's come out recently and said that he doesn't know where Parejo's best position is, and Lea Saliki is not fit enough. So you've got to look at their recruitment and question whether, a lot of research, if any, went into them signings as much as what other clubs do. Obviously, 4 defeats in the last 6, lost to Hull last time out, which is, quite poor result considering where Hull have been. When fans start to turn on the manager, it's hard to really turn it around, and the only thing that matters is wins, no matter where they come from and how they come about. So we have to wait and see. I'm not confident they'll at this moment in time they'll finish in the playoffs, and I think they'll probably stay lower half. But stranger things have happened, I suppose.
Absolutely. If anyone's watching this live show, what do you make of our championship table prediction right now? How do you think it's faring? Do you think we're going to be bang on with a lot of these teams, or do you think we're going to be off with a lot of these teams? Please do let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. Right, let's touch on 6th place. We expected QPR to finish in 6th place, and as of right now, they are in 6th place. 16 points on the board for Queen's Park Rangers. It's been a strong start for Warburton's side. They look very, very good in these early stages. Marcus, will come to you again. Tipped by many to finish in the kind of top 6. Warburton's had time, hasn't he, to mould that squad to his kind of suiting, and it seems to be paying dividends now. Do you expect them to remain in that kind of top 6 picture?
Definitely in and around it for me. I think, even though quite a lot of people, it was quite a popular selection, I still think it is quite a bold pick to pick QPR to get into the top 6. They're a side that were struggling in the first half of last season, ended up only pushing up into mid-table. There was some smart business in the summer, bringing in some players on small transfer fees, and obviously a loan deal to get in Andre Gray has helped to really bolster their squad. So I think the depth is there for them to kick on and make the top 6. Chris Willock and Ilias Chair have come on leaps and bounds this season, looking to be even better than they were in the second half of last season. Mark Warburton's an experienced manager at this level, and I think he can at least have them fighting for a place in the playoffs right up until the end of the season.
Yeah, you would expect so. Right, let's touch on 7th prediction. We thought Cardiff City would finish just outside the playoffs. It's not really gone to plan. Certainly of late for Mick McCarthy's side, 5 defeats in a row for the South Wales outfit in the last few weeks. It's not going well. George, again, this is potentially looking like a prediction that we might be getting wrong here.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. It's very much like Middlesbrough in some ways, 2 experienced managers who are quite stubborn, and, they both said that they've got the dressing room at the moment, but on current evidence doesn't really look like that. I can see why we predicted Cardiff to finish there. I mean, the only real player they had to replace in the summer was Harry Wilson, who obviously was on loan, and they couldn't manage to re-sign him. But, you look at the likes of the defence, and Kiefer Moore managed to stay in the end. And they brought in, some decent signings in the likes of Giles and James Collins. But for me, they didn't do enough in the transfer market to really mount a push for the playoffs. Moore hasn't got going quite yet. I mean, it started off well, but 5 defeats in a row kind of tells the whole story, really. And after 2 home defeats, was it West Brom and Reading they played? You'd think with an international break on the horizon or upon us now that it's the right time to sack a manager, but it looks like they're going to stick with him. So he obviously had that bounce last season when he first went in. They had a fantastic run, but since then I've not really seen any signs of encouragement from them, really. And again, I think it'll be once you start off down there, it's hard to really mount a push the top off. So I think we might have got that one wrong as well.
Yeah, it's looking that way right now, but you have to remember, we are only 11 games into the season. There's still a lot to play for, so we will see. Let's touch on 8th position. We expected Millwall to finish just outside the playoff zone in 8th position. They are currently in 11th spot. They've had a steady start to the campaign. Lots of draws, but 2 wins on the bounce in their last 2 fixtures has kind of pushed them nicely up that championship table into 11th position. Marcus, do you think our predictions got some credibility here with this one?
Definitely. I think this is pretty bang on. Could be a bit of a tale of seasons gone by for Millwall. They've flirted with the top six in recent years and not really had the firepower to get there and produce a consistent enough run to make an assault on the top six. I think that could repeat itself here. I think they've got an excellent back line, lots of zeros and ones for Millwall, hence why we're seeing such fine margins and a lot of draws so far this season. So yeah, I think 8th is a decent prediction. I think it's more likely to happen if there is a sort of quite a big points gap opens up between the top 6 or 7, and then Millwall can kind of top a best of the rest league with little to play for. I don't see them being in touching distance of the playoffs in terms of points going into the last stretch of the season. But I think 8th position, depending on how it pans out and the gaps between the teams, is definitely achievable.
Yeah, definitely. Let's touch on our 9th position. We predicted Stoke City to finish in 9th. A prediction that if I could change it right now, I would. I think given from what we've seen so far from Michael O'Neill's side this campaign, they look like a real quality outfit. They've got a real balance in that side now, it's fair to say. They are currently in 4th position with 21 points. As I've said, it has been an excellent start to the season for the Potters. George, do you expect our prediction to be a little bit off there?
Yeah, I think they'll finish higher than that. I think they'll definitely mount a push for the playoffs, if not even the automatics. I've been really impressed by them. Watched them on Friday against West Brom. Really good, really impressive. Everything you want in a championship team. They look good at the back. Win a fair share of midfield battles, and they've got goals from the likes of Nick Powell and Sam Surridge, and I know he missed a penalty, but I think he'll come good. I really like what they did in the summer in terms of recruitment. I think they brought in the right blend, as you said, of young players like Wilmot and Surridge, but also got that experience in Vrancic, who looks a class act. So I think Michael O'Neill deserves a huge pat on the back for the job he's done since going to Stoke, because it's easy to forget that they were on the verge of going to League One a couple of years ago under Nathan Jones. So it's almost been an upward trajectory since. And I think that this season is the one where they will finish in the playoffs, and it's probably been a long time coming. But now he's had time to have his sound his squad and get his own players in. It's paying dividends.
Yeah, I think it's got to be said that this has all happened without Tyrese Campbell, who was arguably their best player at times last season. So when he's back fit, that'll be an even stronger proposition from the Potters. Right, let's touch on our 10th place prediction, Nottingham Forest. It's been an incredibly slow start to the season for Forest. Of course, we saw Chris Hughton depart the club, replaced by Steve Cooper. And the Welshamans had a great start to life at the City Ground. 3 games, unbeaten, 2 wins and a draw. George, naturally, will come to you, given you've seen a lot of the Reds this season. What are you making of the 10th place prediction here? Can you see them mounting a playoff push from what we've seen over the last few weeks under Cooper?
First of all, I think the prediction was probably spot on. It was obviously going to be a big summer because they got rid of a lot of players, new CEO coming in, and wanted to reduce the age of the squad and the size of the squad. So it was probably would have been a bit naive for us to say, they're going to finish playoffs, because we keep predicting Forest playoffs last 2 years and failed drastically. The early signs on the Cooper are very impressive. I mean, obviously it speaks for itself. 7 points from 9, scoring goals for fun now, and he's really got the likes of Brennan Johnson and Lewis Grabban and Zinkernagel firing all cylinders. And I think he just needed that progressive, attack-minded coach, no disrespect to Chris Hughton, to come in and unlock their potential and get them firing. I think will mount a push of the playoffs. It's early days, of course, only been 3 games, and every team has a managerial bounce. But for me, outside of that top 4 in Fulham, West Brom, Bournemouth and Stoke, the division is all about whoever can find a bit of consistency. And if Forest can make City Ground a fortress and keep on playing to their attacking player strengths, I think definitely a strong top 4 finish is on the cards.
Yeah, they've definitely got the potential in that side for sure. Let's touch on our 11th place prediction. We predicted Luton Town to finish in 11th position. They're currently 13th right now. They've had some really cracking results and also some really poor results. It's been a somewhat mixed start, but I'd probably say it's been positive on the whole for Nathan Jones and his side. Marcus, we'll come to you. What do you make of this prediction? Do you think kind of a mid-table finish like 11th, top half is right for Luton?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty bang on. I think Nathan Jones, if memory serves, they finished around 11th or 12th last season. They've had a lot of players brought in. They've got quite a young average squad age at Luton. So I think an 11th place finish would definitely represent a successful season. As you alluded to there, they've got the 2-5-0s, a loss at home to Birmingham and then a win at home to Coventry. So we know what they're capable of on a good day and a bad day. It's just whether they can strike the right balance. Obviously, I think Jones is still maybe trying to find his best combinations in the side at the moment. Obviously, they lost James Collins to Cardiff in the summer. Elijah Adebayo's really stepped up into that void. So there's plenty of positives to take from the start of the season. And yeah, I expect Luton to be in and around, a handful of places above or below 11th place, if not bang on. Yeah, I do like that prediction at this stage.
Yeah, it does feel like they will be top half mid-table, you feel, this season, the Hatters. Let's touch on our dead central team, 12th. Bristol City, we think, would finish in the middle of the table in 12th position. They're currently in 9th position. They've crept up that table kind of under the radar in the last few weeks. They've got the best away form in the Sky Bet Championship right now. But as for their home form, it certainly needs to improve. They haven't won at Ashton Gate for a number of months now. We'll come to you, George. Bristol City, middle of the road. Do you think that's a fair prediction?
Yeah, I think that is what will happen in the end. I think I can see them finishing mid-table. Obviously, they've had a great start to the season. Their away form has quite simply carried them, and the home form is utterly dreadful. But you would suspect that to turn around at some point. I mean, they surely can't go the whole season without winning Ashton Gate. We talk about Borough being a big summer. It was a big summer at Ashton Gate as well. Obviously, I don't think Bristol City replaced Jeju well enough. I mean, I know Chris Martin is a good striker at this level, but I just think they're missing that striker to score 15 goals, 20 goals a season to really push them up towards the playoffs. But I think when you've got a steady pair of hands like Nigel Pearson, and you brought in players like Matty James and Andy King, who he knows well, you're gonna get from the Robins. They're a solid, spectacular team. And I think mid-table is not an unrealistic prediction or too much of a negative one. I think that's about right for them.
Yeah, I mean, they strike me as a side that aren't necessarily going to challenge for the playoffs anytime soon. And at the same time, relegation, I don't think is a fear. So middle of the road for Bristol City, we predicted. And as I said, they're 9th right now. Let's touch on Birmingham City. We said they'd finish 13th. They are currently 16th. They've had a really strong start under Lee Bowyer, but last few weeks it's kind of gone downhill. Ever since that big win at Luton Town, it does seem to have gone off the boil a little bit. Marcus, we'll come to you. Where do you see Birmingham City finishing up come May? Do you think this prediction of 13th is about right?
I do, yeah. I know they've had a really poor run, and a lot of Blues fans might be a little bit concerned considering the stark contrast compared to how they started the season. But I think the performances have been a little better than results have suggested in recent weeks. Nottingham Forest were fairly clinical at the weekend. They lost at QPR after having arguably the better of the game in the midweek before that. So I think the results are a lot more alarming than the performances really are. So I can see them pushing back up into mid-table for sure. They've got a few problems at the back. I think the aging duo, Harley Dean and Mark Roberts, might get worked out as the season goes on, really. And of course, they've got Matthias Sarkic in goal with Neil Etheridge sidelined with an injury. I think if Etheridge can come back into the side, that should make them a lot more solid. But yeah, I'm very content with this prediction. I don't think they're going to be flirting with the relegation zone as much as they have in recent seasons. I think Lee Bowyer can definitely turn it around and get them safely into lower mid-table.
Okay, there we go. 14th, we predicted Barnsley to finish there under Marcus Schopp. I suppose this is again looking like one of them predictions that we could potentially have got wrong, judging by their starts this season. They're currently down in the relegation zone with in 22nd position. They've only won one game all season under Schopp. That style of play that became so synonymous with Barnsley last season doesn't seem to be there under Schopp. I can't seem to work out what style of play they're really playing. And you can tell the kind of players don't seem to understand the style of play that's required. We'll come to you, Marcus. As for Barnsley, what do you make of them so far? Because it has been a slow start, hasn't it? Do you think they are in a relegation right now? Is that the kind of theme, do you think, of this season, a relegation battle for the Tykes?
Well, it's hard to predict with the manager under pressure so far in the future, because a new man in charge could completely change the way that they're playing. I was expecting much more than this at the start of the season. They got that win over Coventry as well. I know Coventry has been as good on the road, but a win on standalone victory over Coventry, I think it was either maybe the second or third game of the season, does suggest that they are capable of it. You know, they were 2-0 up at QPR as well at half-time, and then eventually got pegged back to a 2-2 draw. So they have shown in flashes that they have the capabilities to beat these two teams that are in the playoff places at the moment. I completely agree with you there. Marcus Schopp's methods simply aren't getting across. We've seen from this group of players that they put an outstanding run together just to stay up in 2019-20, and then, of course, had an incredible season last term. All the credit there can't go to Valérien Ismaël. I know he did an incredible job, but he can't be the sole factor that they went from being playoff semi-finalists to now a club in the relegation zone after 11 games. So something's got to give. Either they pick up form after the international break, or Marcus Schopp is going to be under a lot of scrutiny. I completely believe that they are in a relegation battle now. Something's just not clicking, and that they don't look good at all.
There we go. Any fans watching this show, please do send in your comments. We want to get your thoughts on our prediction table, and also who you think will finish in the top 6 and in the relegation zone in the Sky Bet Championship. Right, let's move to our next prediction. We said Swansea City to finish in 15th place. They're currently in 19th place under the management of Russell Martin. George, we'll come to you. Do you think that's a fair prediction from what you've seen so far for Swansea? The kind of a 15th place finish?
Yeah, I think without being too pessimistic, sorry, Swansea fans, I don't think they can hope for much higher than that, to be honest. It was a really, you look at Barnsley, they lost a lot of key players and managers, but, Swansea as well, lost Cooper, lost Ayew, lost Jamal Lowe. And they left it quite late to, I know it probably wasn't their fault, but they left it quite late to appoint Martin. And I think it was always going to take time for him to embed his system. Obviously, he plays a very, notable out from the back system, which didn't work on the open day at Blackburn. And, they're still trying to get to grips with that. And I just think it was always going to take time for him and Swansea. I don't think they were going to hope for another repeat of a playoff push. As I said, they lost 2 of their best attacking players, and the replacement with Joel Pirro, who, to be fair, has been really impressive since he joined. But you look also at Hurahan, Morgan Gibbs-White left a big hole to be replaced last season as well. So I think this season's all about getting a squad that Martin likes and wants to take forward. Because you look at Matt Grimes as well; he's going to more than likely leave at the end of the season, if not in January. So, 15th probably fair enough for them. I think Swansea fans will probably just take that now and get the season over and done with in some ways, and just build for the future.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be the general consensus for Swansea fans. This kind of element of being patient with Russell Martin, the fact that he is trying to deploy this really attractive blend of passing football, but you can't do that overnight. It's going to take time for that to fully embed within that Swansea side. So we predict 15th. We will see what happens there. Let's touch on our next few predictions. Huddersfield Town, we said would finish in 16th. Again, this is potentially like one of them predictions where we might have got it wrong, judging by the first 11 games of the season. The Terriers currently sit one place outside the playoff spots in 7th position. It's been a cracking start to the season for Carlos Corberán and his side. Some of the kind of younger players emerging in this side, the likes of Sorba Thomas has had a fantastic start to the season. Josh Koroma among those as well, who have really impressed. Marcus, we'll come to you. As I said, they do sit in 7th position right now. Do you expect them to kind of be flirting with the playoffs this season from what you've seen?
I'm not so sure. I'm not too sure about the depth at Huddersfield Town. Obviously, the news that Lewis O'Brien's release clause in the last few days as well. If he is to leave in January, that could impact their season quite a lot. If it wasn't for Coventry, I think Huddersfield Town will probably be taking the plaudits as the surprise package, the dark horse team, because I didn't expect this from them at all. Fair play to Carlos Corberán. They got smashed 5-1 at home to Fulham on the second game of the season after a disappointing draw at Derby. I think a lot of people were worrying about them getting relegated. So to be 7th after 11 games is huge credit to them. Jonathan Hogg, the captain, has still been solid in midfield. Terriers through and through. I think I do expect them to fall away a little bit, but I'm nowhere near as concerned as I was at the start of the season. As you mentioned, Sorba Thomas has been unbelievable. lots to be optimistic about at the John Smith Stadium after a couple of concerning seasons where they have been fighting relegation. So I don't think they're going to stay there, but it'll be a good season on the whole, nonetheless.
Yeah, it's been an excellent start for the Terriers. Let's move down to 17th position. We expected Reading to finish in 17th position. They're currently in 10th place right now in the Sky Bet Championship. Now, we're saying all of this. There is a potential points deduction looming over the Royals' heads, which could see them docked up to 9 points, which obviously will have a big say on the table. But that hasn't been imposed just yet. So let's go off what we can see right now. George, we'll come to you. There's been some real flurries of some strong performances from Reading, but at the same time, there's been some poor performances as well. I mean, where do you see Reading come May from what you've seen so far?
That's a good question. I think our prediction won't be too far off. Sorry to be a killjoy. I know Reading are on fire at the moment, but it's obviously been a tough summer for them off the pitch, and it's not really been Panish's fault. Unable to bring in loads of players. Obviously, they lost a big player in Elise last season, or in the summer, sorry. But the same bulk of the players that were there last season are still there. So that will give fans optimism. As I said, we don't know what's going to happen in the points deduction, but even if Reading, do drop into relegation zone, I think they've got more than enough quality in midfield and in attack to, really, to get out of the relegation zone. I think once Lucas João gets back and gets back firing all cylinders as well, I think he's a fantastic player at this level, a good goal scorer at this level as well. So, I think it'll be another mid-table finish, as we almost predicted. I think we might push a bit higher to 14th, 15th, but as you said, without being a killjoy, I think Reading fans would probably take that bit of security and a bit of mid-table mediocrity, considering everything that's going off the pitch, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, there's a lot of injured players there that are set to come back in the new year. Like you say, Lucas João, Yaku Mate as well, a big player at Reading who's set to come back in the new year. So we will see with the Royals. 18th position, Coventry City. Probably right now our worst shout on the prediction table, it's fair to say. Coventry have enjoyed a stellar start to the season as they currently sit in third position in the Championship table. Won every single game at the Coventry Building Society Arena so far this season. They've got a striker banging form in Victor Gyökeres, and just a generally a well-balanced side right now. That the wing backs they've got, Fankati Dabo and Ian Matson, have become real key players for them, as have the likes of Callum O'Hare and Liam Kelly and so forth. Marcus, we'll come to you. Do you think we've got this one wrong?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I think some other platforms and Football League experts might have had Coventry to get relegated, so at least we haven't gone that far. Yeah, they do need to start winning games on the road if they are going to sustain this position. But obviously, looking at what's that, quick maths, 15 places off where they stand after 11 matches, they're not going to fall to 18th. I'm pretty confident in saying they're not going to win every single home game. I know they have done that so far this season. But I think somewhere in the middle, hopefully they'll try and push on and keep a top six dream alive for as long as they can. But they're definitely not going to fall as far as 18th. I think that's possibly the most far out prediction of the 24 so far. Yeah, Coventry are going from strength to strength. What a job Mark Robbins is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We do often have a lot of Coventry City fans that watch our live show. So let us know what you make of our 18th place prediction that we made back in August. What do you think? Have we got it all wrong? Do let us know. Let's touch on 19th position. We predicted Blackpool to finish down there. They're currently up in 12th position after a really positive few weeks for Neil Critchley and his side. Shane Lavery in great form for the Tangerines up top. He did come off injured in the last game, which is a bit of a negative for them, but they've really started to kind of adapt to life in the second tier in the recent weeks. George, Blackpool in 19th, do you think that's a fair position for them?
Yeah, I think they'll probably end up finishing in and around there. I watched Blackpool in the playoffs last season and they were good then. They were good, but I did worry about them. I thought it would be a case of they might go straight back down. And also looking at what they did in the summer as well, there's not really many standout names there. Obviously, they lost Ellis Sims in the last season as well. But Shane Lavery's emerged as a real surprise package, and I think him alongside Jerry Yates. I mean, Jerry Yates is a good player at League One level, and he rightfully attracted a lot of Championship interest last season, but he's never done it in the Championship before, so it's always going to be a bit of a step up for him. Having Lavery next to him almost takes the pressure off him slightly, so they've got two good attackers up there. I'm not overly convinced that. I mean, I think they've got a tough run off the international break. They play Forest next, and I think they might play Stoke soon as well. So I do think that they might fall down there, and our prediction might look a bit better. But at the minute, they're using that momentum from the promotion and from the playoffs, and took it into this season, and it seemed to really be a really good camaraderie there. So no, fair play to them, and hopefully they don't drop down too much from a Blackpool perspective.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think certainly the starts this season, it felt like they hadn't really got going. The chemistry wasn't there, but in recent weeks we've seen certain players really step up to the second tier level. In particular, Ryan Wintle on loan from Cardiff City. He's looked really, really positive in the middle of the park. Josh Boulder as well looks a real prospect for the Tangerines. Let's touch on the 20th position. Preston North End, we predicted. They're currently in 18th position in the actual Championship table right now, so we're not too far away from that prediction right now. Marcus, do you think that's a fair assumption for Preston?
Definitely, I think this one's pretty spot on. Frankie McAvoy's had to come out the other side of quite a difficult run at the start of the campaign, but Preston have got a nice consistency in their side. They've got a fair few players that's starting week in, week out that have been at the club sort of 2, 3, 4 years now. And I think they've possibly been helped by some of the sides towards the bottom end of the division have been particularly poor in this opening 11 matches. I think Preston have been able to profit off that as well. The return of Patrick Bauer to the side has been a good one there. They are quite hard to beat. Probably be a team that will pick up quite a lot of draws. I know they have recently, but come the end of the season as well. I think 20th is definitely fair. Obviously 18th, as you say, right now. I can see them fluctuating in between mid-table and around 20th place for the remainder of the campaign, yeah.
For sure. 21st position again. This is looking like one of them predictions that we might have got a little bit wrong here. Blackburn Rovers, we predicted to finish in 21st position. Obviously, Adam Armstrong left for Saints in the summer, but I don't think many of us expected Ben Brereton Diaz to step up like he has in Armstrong's absence. He's been in fine form as they currently sit in 8th position right now under Tony Mowbray. George, again, this is looking like a prediction that we might have got a little bit wrong. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in our defence, like you said, we didn't expect Brereton to turn into the Chilean Superman, but it's just been remarkable, really. Before this season, he'd failed to live up to that £7 million price tag after he left Forest, but he's doing fantastic. I think it's 10 goals in 11 games. So, and that's probably also a worry. Because he's obviously going to attract interest in January, you'd imagine, and obviously there's no update on his deal as of yet. They might activate the 12-month extension option like we reported the other day, but if someone comes with a good bid for him, then you expect Blackburn might sell on. The same with Joe Rothwell as well, really, who's also attracting interest from Rangers, it's said. So if they can keep Brereton for the whole season and keep Rothwell there as well, I think they've got every chance of being in and around the playoff push. I don't think they'll be dragged into relegation battle unless they lose the whole of the squad. But I also think, in our defence as well, it's a massive blow losing Adam Armstrong, who scored 29 goals last season, and it's also a massive blow losing Harvey Elliott, who was doing well for Liverpool before his injury. So, yeah, we've got that one wrong, but I think that Blackburn need to do more and keep Brereton in form and at the club if they're going to keep in that 8th position and push on.
We will see with Rovers. Right, let's touch on our 3 relegation predictions in the Championship. Our 22nd spot went to Peterborough United. As of right now, they're in 23rd position in the Championship table. It hasn't been the greatest of starts for Posh in the league. They've only won 2 games all season, conceded a lot of goals as well. Marcus, do you think our prediction for Posh to get relegated is going to come to fruition?
Sadly, I do. Yeah, I think they came up as a League One side that scored a lot of goals and conceded a lot of goals. that's kind of carried on, but without them scoring too many. They proved that they can do it, kept a clean sheet against Bournemouth last midweek, which is very impressive, holding them to a 0-0. So defensively, they do have the resolve, but it's going forward that I worry. Johnson Clark-Harris has got an impending ban. They look increasingly reliant on Siriki Dembele for a bit of creativity and imagination in the final third. So yeah, it is looking a little bit bleak for Peterborough. Of course, we'll see what happens with Ronnie Edwards going into January as well, the centre-back. So yeah, Peterborough have got a lot to work on, a lot for Darren Ferguson to ponder during this international break. And at the moment, 22nd place looks pretty spot on, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. 23rd position we handed to Derby County. Obviously, we predicted this way before the points deductions were set in stone, but that isn't, of course, now what's happened. They are rock bottom of the Championship table right now, because they were handed that points deduction. George, we'll come to you. It's going to be a monumental effort, isn't it, for the Rams to get out of this sticky situation they're in the table. But to be fair to them, they've really displayed some admirable performances this season, haven't they? And under the circumstances, do you give them any hope of avoiding the relegation this season?
It's a tough one. First and foremost, Rooney deserves a lot of credit. I think the job he's had to, the circumstances off the pitch he had to deal with since he took charge have been terrible. So he deserves a pat on the back in some ways. I'm not too sure if they've got enough. I think what you need is a squad, a good challenging squad in that situation, and it cannot be sustainable every week having 3 or 4 young lads under 23s on the bench who have never played a first team game before, but that's the situation they're in. They didn't score enough goals last season. They were one of the lowest scorers in the EFL, apart from Southend, who were relegated to the National League. And obviously the injury to Colin Kazim-Richards has all but ended their chances of finding the goal on a regular basis from a striker. I think the return of Christian Bielik could be, at the turn of the year, could be a turning point. But as you said, it's going to take a monumental effort. What is it? I think now -2, so or something like that. So there must be 10 points adrift. So it's been done before, I suppose. But you look at the squad and on paper, and it's not large and it's not overly impressive, apart from some decent individuals. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but Derby, I think, will go down this season.
Yeah, and obviously with the January transfer window approaching, it's looking increasingly likely that they will have to sell numerous prized assets within that team, the likes of Louis Sibley being touted for moves away. So we'll have to wait and see. And our final prediction was Hull City to finish rock bottom of the table. They currently reside in 21st position after they picked up a really, really impressive win last time out against Middlesbrough at home. That kind of got them out of that bottom 3. Marcus, we'll come to you. It's not been a great start for Grant McCann. In general for Hull City. Again, you don't really know where the goals are coming from in that side. They've been pretty leaky at the back as well. Where do you see Hull City finishing, Marcus? Do you think it will be relegation come May?
I think they'll be, I think it'll go down to the wire. I can see them making it much closer than maybe we've predicted. The win against Middlesbrough was huge. I would argue that they've looked better than Peterborough as well so far. I think there's a bit more potential in this squad, the likes of Malik Wilkes and Keane Lewis-Potter up top. There is potential in this side. Grant McCann obviously keeps getting questioned if he's just too good for League One but not good enough for the Championship as a coach. Be interesting to see if they can build on that win last time out. I've struggled going forward in particular. I think it was 6 or nearly 7 games where they didn't score a goal in the league. So they'll be glad to be out the other side of that. But yeah, relegation, I feel they'll be battling it right till the final day. Whether they'll go down or not, I think they're looking at maybe 21st or 22nd rather than finishing rock bottom. But yeah, it's going to be tight for the Tigers. It's going to go down to the final day.
Yeah, we shall see. Right, well, that wraps up our look at the Championship table prediction that we issued back in August and comparing it to the current day. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in and watching. We have another debate show at 20 to 5 this afternoon. We're going to be looking at some of the most underrated players in the Championship. Billy Mully is going to be hosting that alongside Toby Wilding and Chris Gallagher. So make sure to tune into that. It's going to be a really, really interesting episode. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube. Follow us and like us on Facebook at Football League World. We do appreciate all the new subscribers that join us. But once again, George, Marcus, thanks for joining me this afternoon, and we'll catch up soon.